Hey everybody, and we're live! So welcome to another episode of Fangirlz Assemble. You'll notice that we changed the title this time, called the SNOTGIRLZ Assemble, because we are all sick. So we're going to do our best and try to mute it when we have sneezes or coughs, but no problem.
But sometimes it's not going to happen.
As you may notice, our most vocal member of the group is so sick. She has no voice. She may whisper from time to time, but overall, she'll be communicating in the chat. So please interact with her there.
We're going to try to translate for her. Oh, and just because Fariha doesn't have a voice, I have to say this right now. Captain America's beard. We didn't even get a minute in, and I had to mention it just for you. So we, it won't distract us later. It's fine.
All right. So before we get to our wonderful interview of the day with Kristen Gudsnuk, is that right? Did I do okay?
You got it.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. We of course have to talk about our wonderful sponsor, In Stock Trades. So, Kristan, we have two Kristens here today. I've got to do my best. So I will be saying Kristan in a very pompous voice in order to get her attention. So, can you tell us why In Stock Trades is so great, Kristan?
Well, InStockTrades.com, where you can get 42 to 50% off all your favorite books right now. If you order before, I believe, midnight tonight, you can get an extra 3% off if you have placed an order by August, I believe. So you can get all your favorite things for a lot of percentages off. If you want free shipping, you just got to spend $50 and free shipping in the United States. InStockTrades.com.
That's right. That's a great promo. And I've already made 2 orders this week. It was a problem. And you can still get our pick, Saucer County, which Saucer Country, which Fariha is holding up, but because she can't make sound, she can't see it. So if you look at it right here,
there it is.
I've got Saucer Country too. It's a nice thick trade.
Ooh, you guys
that.
like thick trade.
Beautiful. Nice. Beautiful. So that's our pick for the month. So please pick it up with 50% off.
You can also get Hench Girl on InStockTrades.com, I believe.
Yeah.
That's right. You can.
It's also a nice thick trade. It's that flops open, and I love that.
All right, so now let's introduce, oh no, my voice is going, our guest, Kristen, the author of Hench Girl and of Modern Fantasy and of, I'm so sorry, I forgot the name of
Making Friends. Making Friends.
Making Friends. So.
Sorry, walked in.
That's fine. First, thank you for coming. I'm very excited.
My boyfriend walked in and said, I have Saucer Country.
Ooh. He's watching the other room with us.
I'm so
Actually, I think he bought it on In Stock Trades because we actually have so many packages from him.
Heck yeah.
It makes me happy to hear. You know what I mean? Like, and that's something I want to ask you about when we get to there too. Actually, screw it. Let's jump in. This is just a conversation between friends. So, Kristen, you're obviously creating awesome comics, and we loved Hench Girl. I loved Hench Girl so much, and I can't wait to ask you about all of your inspiration from that. Because reading all of it, I was just like, oh man, reference to this, reference to this. Oh, ooh, neat. Actually, we'll talk about that first. Okay, so do you have any what are your inspirations going into Hench Girl? Like, what are your other media that you're into that you kind of draw from? Because I saw some anime, some Sailor Moon, magical girl stuff. I saw some Pokemon in there. So what's Kristen into?
Yeah, well, you definitely nailed a couple of them. I was super crazy about Sailor Moon when I was a kid. And it's definitely part of my writerly DNA. Other stuff that I was into growing up was stuff like Inuyasha, Ranma One Half, any comics I could find. There was some magazine called Smile that had just a random chapter of a manga, a shoujo manga, and hairstyle advice. And I would pick that up at the mall and catch up on Peach Girl.
Nice.
Yeah, that was kind of when I was growing up. And, I would always watch tons of, honestly, I've probably seen 10 times as many movies as I've read comics just because I'm a movie head. That kind of thing always inspired me. And a lot of just different prose books.
Oh, wait, so you're a movie head. I gotta know. Do you have a top 5?
Yeah, I do. Oh, my God. Oh, crap. I'm like looking at them because I have my shelf organized in order of favorites.
Ooh, that's a good order.
I love that.
Yeah.
So number 1 is Rushmore by the Wes Anderson movie. Oh,
Yes.
yeah. That was like when I was a kid, I was just like, oh, Jason Schwartzman and that ideal high school boyfriend.
Yes.
Also, I love Brazil, the movie, the Terry Gilliam movie. It's a really good movie about how work sucks and like modern living sucks, and it's made in the 80s, so it's only gotten worse from there. A Serious Man, the Coen Brothers movie. It's like really depressing and great, ending moody. It's like a 60s movie about like belief in God. And I love My Fair Lady and Scott Pilgrim versus the World and Singing in the Rain and The Host. Oh, it's really nice having the collection there because I could just read them all.
I love
That's
that.
awesome.
I haven't heard of like your number 2 and number 3, but the rest.
Oh, yeah.
I sound like I'd be super into those though.
You should watch Brazil then, because that's a gift I'm giving to everyone who hasn't seen it. It's very good. It's crazy. It's very depressing. All the movies I like are like funny and depressing. I think that comes into my sense of humor in my comics.
I think that definitely makes sense. Yeah, because I remember reading Hedge Girl, and we all like the same reaction, like, okay, this is really cute, it's really funny, I really love it. And I was like, oh shit! There's a bunch like,
Some of it hurts. Yeah, some of it really hurts.
All right, well, that's where we're going.
I like luring people into a false sense of security with the cuteness of my art style and then being like, the world is hard.
Pretty much every scene with Mannequin like broke me a little bit.
Like, and him.
Yeah. That's...
Well, as soon as I wrote it, because his character is like, he can turn into a mannequin and astral project. As soon as I thought about it, and I was like, well, if you write a character whose whole power is that they're very fragile, I was like, I guess you have to do something with that otherwise. So I was like, man, by giving him that power, I just like cursed him to like a sad life. But I guess that's writing. I don't know.
Yeah,
basically.
Womp womp.
How did you come up with that, by the way? Like, I know that like some of the powers are very interesting, and not like, especially Mannequin. I think he's the epitome of just like a very interesting power. And I'm surprised he went into.
The carrots, yeah.
How'd you come up with the Mannequin and the carrot power? Like, what did you think of that?
Well, the carrot one, I had a long time ago. I had this really scary dream where I looked down at my arm and there was like a worm coming out, and I was like, ah!
Oh, no.
And I was like, that's such a great image. When I woke up, I was like, man, thank you, brain, for that nightmare, because I like that visual. It was so freaky. And then when I was trying to think of superpowers, I was like, that dream popped into my head because I was like, yeah, that would be a disgusting thing. And I was like, wait, try to make it something somehow productive, something that could be turned into something either neutral, good, or bad. And I was like, carrots. Carrots are my favorite vegetable. What if carrots came out instead of worms? That would be less gross. And the Mannequin one is like, I think I personally am kind of like sometimes I can be a bit of like a space cadet. So to me, the power of leaving your body and floating away, I was just like, that. I feel that.
Yeah, that I love whenever the first carrot comes out of her arm and everyone just vomits or almost vomits.
Yeah, I figured that kind of thing had to happen, but it was really fun drawing that panel where the carrot's coming out. I was just like, I hope people will accept this. I'm so sorry, world.
And just the subtle, like, really big carrot at the end just sitting with him. That got me good. Because at first I didn't notice it, and then I was like, whoa, wait.
when did we get here?
How did this happen?
Yeah.
Well, I think that brings up another thing. You know, a lot of people, as I was researching what other people thought about this and other people liked it and stuff, they want more. So what's happening? Is there ever going to be more?
Well, currently, not right now. I'm kind of like working on other stuff. there I kind of have some ideas percolating of what I could do, which is obviously the first step. So I'm kind of like mulling over what would happen and waiting for a time to come when I have free time to work on that project.
That seems fair.
Currently, unfortunately, in order to like pay the bills, you have to constantly be working. It doesn't leave too much time for like branching out or doing multiple. It's kind of hard to do multiple things at once when you draw it.
Right.
Totally.
Because you've got both big jobs, right? So it's not like you can just kind of focus on one part. It's just this is my entirety of my baby and just me. Like here's all this is me. I can't imagine.
That's kind of what I love about comics, though. It's like any other thing, even being in a band, it's like you can't have that level of control, but you can with comics sometimes. Like you can make the entire world yourself. And there's some limitations to that because two brains is sometimes very frequently better than one, you know? So like Modern Fantasy was a collaboration. That was really fun. But there's something special about being like, this is my subconscious. Take it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and speaking of your other works, as I mentioned to you earlier, I finished reading Making Friends earlier. Yay! I loved everything about it. And that leads me to, Hinge Girl was obviously an older audience than Making Friends was. Did you find that challenging to make something for a younger audience, or was it easier than something like Hinge Girl?
It's very complicated to answer that because on the one hand, Hinge Girl I wrote over the course of like 4 years. Just like I wrote it as a webcomic, so I was changing things based off of comments I was getting and like really interacting with the audience and kind of growing with the comic. And Making Friends is something I wrote extremely quickly, like kind of almost in like I don't want to say in a sitting because it wasn't in a sitting, but I wrote it in like the span of like a week. And then I just kind of took a step back from it and then revised it a couple months later. So on the one hand, it was way easier to write. And you could tell, like, just reading the two comics, one of them has more story in it, and that's Hinge Girl. It's just, like, a lot more condensed. Making Friends is more, like, spread out. But then there were other things where I was, like, there were some things I couldn't do with the character that I would have definitely done if it weren't, like, a kid's book. First of all, I don't know what 7th grade was like for you guys, but for me, it was not appropriate for 7th graders. Like the things kids actually said, like everyone was trying to be very cool. Mm-hmm. So like, I was like, I can't actually really do the accurate portrayal of 7th grade. I have to do a very sanitized version because everyone at that time was trying to show off like how much they knew about swear words and like being a jerk and stuff like that. So in that way, and also I was like, I have to, if you're writing it for kids, you kind of have to think a little bit about the character being something of a role model. So I was like, I can't have her go super dark. Danny, the character in Making Friends, gets magic. She gets a magical sketchbook. And she kind of uses it for her own personal gain, which I think any 7th grader would do. But I had to be a little cautious about what I let her do versus if it were a grown-up book, I would have just let her. I would have followed down the rabbit hole a little darker. Yeah.
It would have been Death Note.
Yeah, basically. I love Death Note. I was actually very inspired by Death Note when I made this, actually.
I wondered that.
Note, you know?
Yeah, except it's way more positive than Death
Note. But I was so into Death Note when I was in college. That was something I read the manga. I didn't really like the anime that much. I read the manga like 10 times. And when spoiler happened at the end with the main character, I cried. And I was like, why do I care so much about this horrible person?
I love it. It's like the true test of a weeb. It's like, how effective were you by Death Note?
Yeah, pretty effective.
Yeah, I mean, another thing about Making Friends that I noticed, because obviously I'm not a younger person. I'm not 12, but I still felt like it was way more deep than I thought it was going to be. Like, I read a lot of younger graphic novels too. I tend to find that a lot. But, I mean, and there was a severed head. Like, I didn't expect that. Like, it was great. But, like, you know, I really felt it more than, I don't know, I guess I expected to. Did you, like, feel that as you wrote it? Were you like, oh, this will actually be broader than maybe the younger audience who maybe it's intended for?
Well, first of all, thank you so much. That's like, honestly, that's totally why I do it. So hearing that is like very nice for my ego. But yeah, when I was writing it, I was like, you know, I think for anyone who wants to be a comics writer, you have to think about what you do that's special about your own work. Like, you know, what sets you apart, what you're good at versus what you're not good at. And I was like, okay, I think what I'm good at is making people feel my feelings. So I was like, I'll just try to put all my feelings in there. And because like none of the things that actually happened in that like happened to me. And sorry, I have a cold. Nothing that happened in there happened to me, but I was like, the feelings are the feelings that I felt. So I was trying to get those in there. And also, I guess I just tried to follow my voice. It sounds like very vague, but you know what I mean.
I miss my voice.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
All right, so we asked you about what movies and other media and stuff you're into. Do you have any particular favorite comic books that you kind of come back to again and again, or that you recommend to other people?
Well, it's funny because I said Scott Pilgrim in the movie part, but Scott Pilgrim is definitely a comic that I love. It was always huge for me. And other comics I like are like, well, I mean, it also seems kind of very obvious to say Watchmen, but like Watchmen is really good, and I like how it's, you know, it's all about subverting the tropes, and that's something that I try to bring into all my stuff. So I always think about Watchmen like, let's beat Watchmen, or at least try. There's the bar. Other comics, oh my god, there's this Gravitation, this manga that
oh my gosh,
I really liked it a lot when I was like a teenager. And okay, if you look at the jokes in that and then you look at the jokes in my stuff, you'll definitely see where my sense of humor kind of came from, because all the gags in Gravitation are these really hilarious weird reaction shots of characters. Like they'll just start like bleeding out of every like orifice in their face when they're excited. And I just was like, oh, I love that. That one was huge for me. I'm actually, there's like an old Tokyo Pop series, and it's right there proudly on my shelf.
Yeah, for people at home maybe who don't read manga or didn't read manga during that time, Gravitation was like one of the first big boys love. Yeah, Shonen Ai manga is a very big one. Actually, a cosplayer I follow is just recently cosplayed from that. I was talking about how nobody knows what it is anymore.
It was so good. It was like it was partially horrible, like no offense to Maki Murakami, but like some of it was like really bad. And then some of it was like, it was so uneven, but the parts that were good were so good. And the art was really nice. I was obsessed with it.
And honestly, putting the three of those books together, it makes a lot of sense about your work. Like, I mean, it's like you really laid out like, hey, here are these things, and here's Hench Girl. Like, yeah, I could see how you mix those up in a pot, and then you come out with Hench Girl, which is also like, you know, subverting superhero tropes and stuff too, right? Like, because you've got all this. That one, I can't remember his name. I'm so sorry, but like, I want to call him Mr. Handsome Guy.
Mr. Great Guy.
Oh my gosh, I wasn't far off. And he's really just like, I'm, you know, a really good superhero, but also like my tragedy.
I loved his shorts.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good.
It was so good. And then her whole superhero family and everything about that was just spot on.
Thank you. Yeah, that was another thing where when I was writing it, at first I didn't know she had a superhero family. And then I was like, oh, that would make I was like, oh, we should meet her parents. And I was like, it just kind of popped into my head and it just made so much sense. Because, like, you know what? Actually, you sent me your questions before and I was looking at them. And one of them was like, what makes a compelling character? I'm sorry to bring up one of your questions.
Get to it.
But, like, honestly, I think that, like, having a character who has two things in opposition about themselves, it's like, that's like the magic to making a good character. So, like, Cyclops is like, oh, he's got all this power in his eyes, but he can't control it properly. And that's the two things in conflict with one another, which is like someone who's a control freak who can't control themselves. Or like, for instance, with Mary, I don't mean to put it in the same category as Cyclops, who's so great, but you know, she works for a villain, but her family is superheroes. Like that kind of just an intrinsic like problem in their like self.
Right. And for her to like get into villainy for such a silly reason, which is like, well, it was a job opening. And I was like, I feel that as a millennial. Like, I just like, man, there's not much to do. So
yeah,
I have powers like my parents. I didn't get that power privilege. So.
She tries. She tries.
Okay, so you like Cyclops. Yes. I know you read some of the early questions, so basically it's gonna be like, oh, I saw this question coming. But so a question I'd like to ask people that if you could choose a character like that you from one of the big two, right? Like a superhero character that's a big one. Like who would you choose to write and why? Like from DC or Marvel?
I would probably choose the Riddler. I love the Riddler. He's like my favorite character. He's really cool. I love the riddles. I would love to do a Riddler story. Something about him like hating Batman. Man, I would get so on board with that. Or Cyclops, any X-Men thing. I have some weird superpower ideas that I would love to give to some original X-Men characters.
Something like Kara.
You know, I've got tons of weird, really gross ideas, and I would love to like make them into X-Men.
I'd read.
Does that mean you had some like X-Men OCs growing up?
Ooh, I have one character who was like her power. I thought of this once, and it was so dumb, but I wanted to like hold on to this idea. So her power is she could like manipulate people's hair, like, and she's a hairstylist, and she joins the X-Men because Professor X is like, you gave me hair. And then from that point on, he would have hair.
Nice.
So that would be my addition to the Marvel canon.
I would hope she'd be like making mullets. Like making Wolverine have a mullet, maybe.
If she had a villain she was fighting, she could make her hair grow really long and they would trip on it.
Ooh, that's good.
And also, if you have like dog fur on your shirt, she can remove it really quick. This is how I thought of that power. I was like, Penny.
I love that. I think that's great. It's like reverse Medusa. Sorry for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Whispering.
I was just gonna say that I would like to see a Medusa and that character team up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That'd be fun.
They would be like at each other.
All right, so speaking of Riddler and riddles and stuff, not really exactly related, but I would just like to give you some mad props for the puns in Hench Girl. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
I'm very into puns. Like, non-ironically, I just really like them. So I feel like if you wrote the Riddler, that'd be great.
Yeah, I would do so many. He would make so many puns. It would be. I can't think of one right now.
I know it's hard. Give me the spot with puns, right? It has to be just organic and special. But I just want you to know that I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, especially.
Speaking of appreciation, there are some questions in the chat, so I'm going to go to that real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Someone is asking, what was the best fan interaction you've had as a result of your comics?
Oh my gosh, I've had so many really wonderful ones. Oh man. What did I do with it? At New York Comic Con, I got this like really cute little hand-drawn comic by this adorable girl named Ryley. She made me a comic.
Aww.
She was like, I can't come to New York Comic Con, so she had her dad give it to me, and it was all about like a criminal. So I think she was inspired by Hench Girl. It was so cute. Oh, this other very adorable kid. I hung up her art on the wall, actually. I'll find it. Her name's Julia, and she gave me a bunch of her like cute little drawings.
Aww.
Oh, that's adorable. I just like have all these like, kids who are not my kids, and I hang their art on my walls, like they're like proud surrogate moms.
I love that though. That's so wholesome.
I know.
His con interactions can go so many ways.
Yeah.
Also nice. Like, real wholesome interactions gives me hope.
Yeah, it's when kids are always like adorable, or they'll just be like brutally honest. But you know, they're very honest, and I like that either way.
But I would like to see some, like, girls who have gone on to become criminals later on and then say that it was from Hench Girl.
Would you like to see that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or maybe they just get really into carrots. I mean, that's fine. That's
Yeah.
good for your eyes.
I stopped kids from eating vegetables, and I encouraged them down a life of crime. So,
No
yay
big
me!
But also, they know how to make friends now. It's great.
Hey,
Do they know?
I know.
Did my book really teach any good lessons about making friends?
You'll need friends in the can. Like, once
Yeah.
you go to the jail, you need friends. So that's a
Yeah.
good, like,
This is true.
sorry, everyone, at my voice.
It was like a ghoul on the line, like a ghostly,
We can't take
a haunted Google chat.
So we have some other questions in the chat too. Tip to toe, that's a Bart. Had another question. He said, if you were in modern fantasy, what do you think your character would be? Like, would they be an elegant elf, a hardworking dwarf, or just like a dope ghost? I like you said dope ghost.
I would be a
Dope.
Now that bringing up a ghost, I would probably be a ghost. No, I don't know. I haven't like been living my life very much because of the whole comics thing. Which is fine. This is what we sign up for. So, I would be like an immortal goddess elf queen.
I like it.
Nice. Yeah,
I mean, if you're gonna do it, you should go all out. I mean,
Yeah. Maybe I'd be like a woods elf because I have brown hair.
I can
But-
do it. I can see.
Immortal.
Of course.
always immortal.
Yeah, that's number one.
Another question from the chat. Zinks the Pest says, Kristen, what recent anime/manga have you watched or read?
Oh my gosh, I'm watching My Hero Academia.
Oh, it's good.
Of course.
I love it so much. I watch it and I get really inspired to like do work because I'm just like, if Midoriya can like power through and like destroy his hand, so can I.
Oh,
I was actually like, oh my god, I wonder if that was because the person who made it was an artist and was like, I have to make my deadlines, but my hand is breaking because he like breaks all his fingers and like when he battles, it's like disturbing. But I was like, I relate. That one's great because like the characters all have weird superpowers too, and there's like a lot of like hilarious gags. There's like an invisible girl who like wants attention, and it's just like so funny.
so I mean, I wish I could. I'm too far away from my computer desk, but I have an All Might booby mouse pad. Have you seen the booby mouse pads? But it's like it's pecs. Do you have a favorite character from My Hero Academy? Mine's All Might, obviously.
I love All Might. I love all the characters so much. It's really weird. It's like kind of hard to pick because, yeah, it's such a good ensemble. But I guess I like Izuku and I like Froppy. I love Froppy. Yeah, All Might. I just saw the movie. I loved Young All Might. I want more Young All Might. I was just like,
I'm so envious. I wanted to see it so bad.
it was in theaters.
I know, I missed it. Or all my friends are seeing it. Or like cosplaying to go see it. I've got a Suyu cosplay at home, no big deal. But I love her. I feel like the rest of you girls would like that show. I think it translates. I think it can go across. Like it's anime, but it's superhero too.
I read
very good.
some of the manga, but that's it. And I really liked it.
It's cool. It seems very inspired by 90s American comics, which I find really fun and interesting. Like the hero killer looked exactly like a Image 90s like kind of, you know, character.
Crazy buff guy.
Well, no, his design looked like one of those characters. It's kind of hard to say.
He's just very creepy.
Yeah.
It's very good.
It's great.
Were you?
Sorry.
No, you're still talking about it. Go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say how All Might is very like super like buff American like superhero. he has like moves that are like Detroit Smash and all this stuff. And he's perfect in every way. That's all I was gonna say. Go ahead.
Were you always into comic books? And do you remember the first comic that you ever read?
I mean, I used to read like the funny pages in the newspaper, like every day. And I would like in the late 90s, like when I was kind of just becoming like I was like 10, 11, I just got really, really into manga, and that kind of got me into comics. I didn't read any American stuff or Western stuff until I was like 18 or 20 or something. So for me, it was all manga or newspaper funnies. Far Side. I had like Far Side daily calendars. I would just like rip it off and then save it forever and just like constantly look at them.
That's great. It's a good one.
Okay, sorry, we've had other questions. Excuse me, that very awkward lull and everything. Okay, so do you have any particular like artists that inspire you?
Yeah, non-comic artists that inspire me are, there's this photographer, Cindy Sherman. I have a book of hers. Oh my god, it's underneath a thing, but I could grab it. Oh, her photography is so good. Actually, can I grab it?
Yeah,
please. I'll show it to the webcam. One sec.
Sorry for the awkwardness, guys.
Nothing's more awkward than me trying to talk.
No, I think that's the best.
No, it's
obviously.
Good. It makes it real spooky.
So, like, she does these, like, really weird, really crazy, weird photos. Like, look at this crazy clown.
Oh, man.
That's her. She dresses up like all, like...
That's great.
She can either be, like, really, really pretty or, like, really scary. I gotta find something good. You might have seen some of these. They're like, she's a famous photographer.
That's great. What's her name?
Cindy Sherman. Oh my god. Okay. See, this is her too. It's like, it's really cool. She just like comes up with these characters and dresses up as them.
Oh.
I love that. And this is like a 1920s illustrator named Nell Brinkley. And her stuff is like really, really beautiful and like really ornate. And it's like, it looks like manga, but it's from like the 1920s. It's like really cool. So I would actually recommend, see, look at that. I would recommend people check out these artists. In terms of writers, I love my dog. She's growling at the door. I love Lori Moore. She's like a short story writer. Her stuff is just amazing and really funny and really dark. I would recommend checking out her book, Self-Help, which it's not a self-help book, but it's just called that.
Okay.
I'm writing all of this now.
Yes.
Yeah. Kristan will give us a list of the shows that we need to be checking out, which is always good.
By the way, how did you discover all this artist, like all this photographer? Like, what was your inspiration? Like, how did you go look for them?
In this case, I think what happened was one time I was at the museum when I was like a kid or like a teenager, and I saw this crazy Cindy Sherman photograph at like the Met or MoMA, and it was like of a car crash and just like all this like crazy stuff. And I was just like, wow, that's so cool. And then I took an art class in college and they showed us that picture, and I was like, oh my god, I love that. And I got really into her, and I bought one of her art books. And yeah, actually she had a retrospective at MoMA a couple of years ago. It was really cool. And the other people, mainly just from like exploring bookstores and that kind of stuff, or like word of mouth.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, though. That's what I was just gonna say. Sorry.
No, don't apologize. No.
She's a dope ghost.
Yeah.
Dope ghost.
Dope ghost.
So we have another question in the chat from Tip to Toe. That's a Bart. Thanks for all the questions. He was asking, or she, I don't know, they, you say, they were asking, what's your general character design process? Do you sort of just draw on Post-it notes, or do you do a lot of detail sketches?
With Hench Girl, I didn't do any character designs, and I just designed them like on the side of the page as I was going, because I was too wrapped up in inspiration to like take time to plan things out. So in that case, I kind of figured it out as I went along, and that's what you can see, the characters' designs changing drastically throughout the book. With Making Friends, I made a character turnaround sheet that I sort of stuck to. If you look at my stuff, you can tell that I kind of go off model every single panel. But yeah, in that case, I had that. And with Modern Fantasy, what I did was I made this... I made like a little printout with all the pages in black and white, and I kept it like stapled at my desk, so I always had a reference of how I had drawn them before, like immediately at my hands, so that I would stick to the reference, stick to the character designs, and not go off book like I always do.
Right.
So do you draw traditionally, or do you do digital, or both right now?
So basically what I do is I do the layouts digitally, and then I print them on my printer right here. I just basically print out, oh my gosh, here's something. It's kind of a spoiler, but not really.
We'll take it.
So if you look really closely, you can see that there's like blue panels and like really, really light kind of like layout sort of placement. So then I take that, I go into it with a blue pencil, and I finish the drawings, because I'm better drawing in real life than on the computer. And I ink it traditionally. Comes out maybe like that. Woo!
Oh.
This is Making Friends book 2, actually.
Ooh.
Which I'm working on. I am behind on it. I have giant stacks of paper all over, huge boxes of sheets of paper. So yeah, I do it traditionally. But then I cut back to you for the call. But then I scan it and fix it up and do colors digitally.
Nice.
That's so cool. And I see a sneak peek of Making Friends too.
Yeah.
Do you have an ETA on that? I know you said you're behind, so probably not.
It's supposed to be done already.
Oh.
I'm not done. Look, okay, sometimes things just take longer than you thought they would.
Hey, we get it. It's fine.
Especially when you're writing it and drawing it, because if you're just drawing it, you don't have the option of stopping and rewriting the scene 20 times. But if you're writing and drawing it, you can do that, and you might.
If you have to, just a question. Sorry, I'm just saying that. Who would be your like artist to work for? Like, the one that you would like to work with.
Oh my gosh. There's this artist, Jake Wyatt. His stuff is really, really good. Oh man, when I was at Comic-Con, I just saw so many people who I thought they were amazing, and I grabbed all their cards actually. So there's a lot of people who aren't even like known yet who are just like incredible. I have this friend Fabian Lillet who's really, really good. He did the art for Jade Street Protection Service for Black Mask like a year ago. His stuff is really nice. It was very like fashion illustration-y. I like to work with him. I told him that we're gonna try to do something someday.
Good.
Nice.
So I was like looking up Jake Wyatt, or what you said.
Oh, he did some Ms. Marvel issues.
Ooh.
Like in the beginning, the stuff that was not by the main artist that had that like kind of like anime-ish style. Like, he does Necropolis too. Yeah, he's cool.
That sounds familiar. I mean, I'm looking for artists on his Tumblr right now. It looks really good.
Yeah, I love his style so much. Actually, I have a print by him behind me. I'll show you.
Nice.
This one here. That's his art.
The whole wall looks cool.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, and my friend Stephanie Myded, who has a really good webcomic called Jet Black, she did that one of Cyclops and Wolverine over here in the corner.
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she did that for me.
Sweet.
Did you request that as a ship, or were you just like, I really like Wolverine and Cyclops just like as characters?
I think I said a couple times. This is the first weekend we met by tabling at C2E2, and now we're like friends. But the first time we met, I think I mentioned like 5 times, I don't like Wolverine, but I like him when I ship him with Cyclops.
I see.
Because honestly, I think what I was saying before about characters, it's like normally Wolverine's not that like interesting. He doesn't have like a twist. He's just like I mean, he's like a fun character. That's why people like him. But he doesn't have that twist that makes him all complicated. But he would have that twist if he was secretly hot for Cyclops. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
I love it. I live for crack ships.
They have like such a good dynamic.
I mean, you're
hate each other.
Right?
Yes.
That's your fan fiction online.
That's where I got the idea was from several very convincing fan fiction.
Yeah.
That's how I get you.
Yep.
It's okay. We feel very strongly about Namor and Black Panther here on this panel after Ink Avengers.
No.
So.
I can see it. I'm on board.
Good. Should be.
And then we need to write a comic of like them together, and then Medusa, and then your original character. They go on to find them so that they can beat them up, something like that. I don't know. I haven't thought of it yet.
I like it.
Why are you even trying?
Bless her heart.
Our poor ghost.
Our poor dope ghost. So something we always like to talk about, like in our show, because we're always talking about, diversity in comics, not just like as far as characters, but also the creators and things. And to see a lady who's writing and drawing, which is really cool, how's that feel for you? Because I mean, that's still like a niche thing still now,
Comic?
And for you to be on tops, on tops. What am I going to say? For you to be like, to have control. I mean, like as we talked about before, like so much control over the comic, right? Because you're doing the art and you're writing it, and you're a female creator is a really big deal, and we love that here.
Yeah.
How does that feel? And like, I don't even know how to like ask you about it, but like, I guess how does that feel for you? And have you had anyone comment about that with you, or like, I don't know.
I think a lot of people do support me because I'm a woman, and I'm like super grateful because I feel like even like 10 years ago, the opposite effect would have happened. And I think maybe it does happen to some people where they're like, oh, I don't want to read that because it's probably not for me. But I think nowadays people are really, I don't know. It's like I never felt anything but support from like the comic community. I'm very thankful for that. So like, yeah, I mean, it's all because of stuff like this, like stuff that like promotes, diverse works. And yeah, I guess I'm just really glad that I think that I'm lucky to be in the time period that I am.
That makes me so happy because I feel like, I read work like yours and I fall in love with it. I'm just like, I must protect all of these people. Like, yes, like there's like awesome female creators out there that are writing books that like I really love, and it made me really happy because you have like a character, you've got your female lead, who's a super dork and like and problematic in her own life and just like messes up all the time, and she's got some like super character flaws, and I'm like, yes, I can identify with you. Like, I love this. It makes me happy. So I'm glad people are like,
that's so cool. I mean, honestly, like, I feel like when I was growing up, I was reading stuff when I was younger that was mostly by like, you know, the writers they tell you to read are usually like men. And so I was always like, oh, female characters are like, they just don't, something's up with that. There's like, aren't that many good female characters in the things I'm reading. But then like, that was when I was like a teenager. And then I got a little older. Then I started branching out in what I was reading. And I was like, oh, wait, I was wrong. Whoops. There's a lot of really good stuff out there. And I think anyone who's like, might think that like, oh, that's not for me, they just have to explore it a little more, because regardless of what group made something, there's good stuff from like any like, you know, section of the world, even if it's not your own experiences.
I totally agree. It's what we talk about here a lot, because like, you know, a lot of people will turn down stuff, and people that we interact with daily, because we're in a lot of comic book groups and we talk about comics a lot. And a lot of people are like, no, that's super not for me, obviously. Like, you don't know.
Yeah.
Like, you don't really, it doesn't have to be exactly your experience or what you'd like for your experience to be for you to enjoy it. You can just like read a fun story.
I think where a lot of it comes from is that we're in this time period where everything is getting rebooted, everything we've seen like 1,000 times already. So when it feels like every like narrative rock has been overturned, I think that's when people finally start reaching out to be like, okay, let's see a different spin on this story then, because we've seen this spin like a bajillion times. So in a way, I think that this repetitive media cycle is kind of causing an upsurge in like more diverse stuff.
Do you feel like you put a lot of cons? Do you find like you see more and more female creators out there because of things like that, and more people are jumping into it, so it's becoming less a thing, you know?
Yeah. Well, when I started, it seemed like there were still a lot of female creators, but there's even more now. And I think a lot of that's the internet too. Webcomics gives us not only a place to enter from, but also like, because in the 90s and stuff, when I saw like the Western comics, I was like, oh, these like airbrushed muscle men punching each other really, really hard. I was like, oh, that's not interesting. Oh, but see, following my own advice, I should have checked it out, because some of those comics did end up being really cool. But like, I was like, oh, that's not for me. That's like just not for me. But nowadays there is stuff, like if I were growing up now, I would just, you know, be in amazement at all the great, like, I think because like the internet made everything more niche. So now there's a thing for everyone. There's like a comic for everyone. And it's just like a really great environment in terms of inspiring more people in the future of whatever background to make comics.
Hang on. Did you say that you have a problem with airbrushed muscular men? What's wrong with that?
That's our dope ghost favorite thing.
What's wrong with airbrushed muscular men? I don't understand.
Honestly, I think
I'm joking.
Okay, but for real, part of I think why I liked manga so much as a kid is because I saw what the people looked like in the Western comics, and I was like, those don't even look like people. They just look like I don't know, like a person, like basically like the Surge Soda version of like a human being is like those characters. I was just like, something aesthetically there did not appeal to me, and also the coloring styles. If you look at my own stuff, you'll see I go with really flat colors. That's because I really hate that Photoshoppy look that all those comics coloring have on their really beautiful line art. You know? Do you know what I'm talking? I hate to like complain about someone's coloring, but there's
no, I get. I mean, you can't help what like, aesthetic you find appealing and what you like. You know?
Yeah. Oh.
True. Like, I mean, and I don't feel that way as much now because my tastes change. Mm-hmm. But like, yeah, growing up, like you see Western comics, almost like this. It's just like muscles on a person and not a real person.
Yeah,
like, that's not for me. And that changed. That has changed a little bit now. Although I can say that like I'm more into muscly ladies now, maybe. But like
But see,
as far as like anime, I love like dumb, muscly anime men like All Might and
yeah.
You know.
But see, that's because like that's him. But then the other characters look different, and
That's
also they
true.
all have different faces. And you know, I think that like the Western style comics, a lot of times the faces look really similar, and they don't really emote that much. It's like the drawing is so beautiful, but it doesn't necessarily relate that much to the panel that it's in. And like I think with manga, it's like maybe the drawing isn't as like, I mean, usually it's very well drawn, but sometimes it's like they do it faster, but it has the feelings there more than the
No, I got you. And that's something that people talk about a lot. I think that's something that some comics are getting better at, like Western comics. But that's a huge difference between the two, because you have like Japanese comics, well, like Eastern comics, I guess, that have very emotive faces and show a lot of emotion in faces, so they don't have to do so much like extra bubbles or something. And they also have the added advantage of like the use of onomatopoeia that we don't have in the US too. But yeah, and it's true that a lot of comic book characters, they even make fun of that a lot, like especially DC stuff where like Superman looks just like Batman in their regular human outfits. And a lot of the Robins all look the same. And like it's just the same face over and over again.
Yeah. But it's interesting because like when you look at the newer comic artists, even at DC and Marvel, the ones you can tell are inspired kind of, they have the more emotionally expressive art. So I think that's been a good thing for culture. Even though in some ways everyone drawing manga has been probably bad for art too, in terms of like everyone copying the one style. But as someone who did it too, I can't really cast any stones.
This reminds me of like a comic I'm currently reading. It's called Fence. Boom is putting it out. Have you heard of this?
No.
It's about these boys that fence at a school. And it's just their fencing tournaments, right? But it's like the art is so clearly like kind of manga-ish. It's really gorgeous. It's really great. But like they do those reaction shots where they're over the top and ridiculous and dramatic. But I love it every time because I'm like, oh, I know exactly what you're feeling. Cool. You know?
I love that kind of, I'll check that out.
You should.
Fence.
It's great.
The artist done some really great fan art in the past too. Johanna the Mad. I like that that's like what's her internet tagline, but she uses it now for her artist name in books.
Yeah, she's great.
It's pretty cool. I only know because she's made a lot of like anime fan art that I've seen, but you know.
Well,
Kristan, please.
Okay, I just want you to keep saying that.
I know, that's so funny.
You've mentioned a few times like having a webcomic first kind of helped you gain that audience. Would that be your go-to on giving advice for young creators trying to like get their work out there?
Oh yeah, definitely. Honestly, I don't know if I could have. I found switching from doing webcomics to doing print comics to be kind of difficult because I got so used to the second I finished drawing a page, I would just upload it and see what everyone thought immediately. And I was really excited about that part because I'd just drawn it. And now I'm just like, I have to wait 2 years and then people will see this. And by that point, I'll have forgotten what I was even thinking when I was drawing this. So I can't really. But so that immediate satisfaction of, or immediate gratification of seeing people's reactions, it's so nice. And it gets you very motivated in the beginning. So I would definitely recommend making a webcomic. Make your own website, put it on Tapastic or Webtoons. Read the fine print first though, but like, because you'll get readership, you'll get a readership from there, and you'll get really good intel on what's working and what's not working. So yeah, definitely. And I think so many people nowadays get their start from webcomics.
Yeah, definitely. More and more people are printing them too, you know.
Yeah, I mean they're seen as more legit now, I think, than they were like a couple years ago. But I think that's just because the model has been shifting to people just putting out their own stuff until they get discovered, and then like getting real jobs.
And I've got stuff like Patreon and stuff too. I'm sure that helps a lot.
Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Coming artists, yeah.
I don't use any of those personally, not for any reason other than it's extra work that you're signing up for maybe more money, who knows. It just doesn't, but for other people it seems like it's a good model. But Patreon, it seems like you need to like produce all this content for your patrons.
Pretty consistent content.
Yeah, it does seem very like anxiety inducing as me looking on the outside. Even though I am a patron for people, I'm just like, man, if I had to do this and there's tears, ugh.
Yeah.
I have to be held accountable. No.
What?
So what platform would you recommend people to use?
For webcomics? Well, for me, I was using just my own website, and that was good because if you use a hosting service, sometimes I saw you cough on mute. Sometimes they might take some of your rights, so always be careful of that. My friend Stephanie, who drew I keep talking about her, who drew the corn dog party thing, she uses Tapastic. Her comic is called Jet Black. It's really good, actually. It's a comic about like a 90s pop star who finds like a runaway teen who's looking for her dad. It's great. And so hers is on Tapastic, and it seems like it brings in a lot of people who are already on the site looking at other comics. So that's why using one of those like hosting comic overall sites is good. It gets word out faster.
Okay, so we have a couple questions in the chat, and then it's gotten lost a little bit in the Wolverine Cyclops discussion in the chat that people are having.
Talking about it, yeah.
It's gotten pretty serious. A lot about who's the big spoon, which is fun. So our big question asker, she was asking, I think she kind of just answered that, but she was asking, like, as a woman, how do you find places to promote your art without being scared? Which I think,
Where to promote your art.
Past it. Sorry.
Yeah. That Tumblr, without being scared.
Yeah, I think she worries. And maybe I'm assuming now because I can't see the rest of what she was saying unless she's going to add more. But like, I guess being a woman in this field and not, I guess.
I try not to post too many things with my picture because I'm like, don't make fun of me, people, or judge me based on my face or whatever. But I'm not at the level yet where people are harassing me, thankfully. So I don't really have to worry about that. Thankfully. But honestly, what I do is I try not to ever say anything about like the Comicsgate people on like Twitter or whatever, because I'm just like, avoid. Don't even think about them. Oh God, I said it.
They're not gonna watch this. It's fine.
Okay.
It's fine. If you were, I think they would have already had something to say. We've already said some.
Yeah, we said we like diversity.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That's already.
I'm sure we've already called ourselves SJ Jabboos on here too, so whatever. Fine.
No, but
really
like, I always want to like say something because they're so bad. But like the comics world right now is just so weird and fractured. But you find your little place, it's also insular, so you can kind of insulate against the unwanted rabble. Oh my God, there's a cat.
Oh yeah, this is Robin.
I just see her tail.
I'll hold her up so you can see her.
I'll have to try to get
She's
mine in here.
mascot almost in the show because she's always in my chair.
Oh.
She's named after Nico Robin of One Piece, so I call her Neko Robin. And she always wants to be in the show. Girl, don't even try this. Let's just sit you back down. Bye.
I'm gonna see if mine will make an appearance.
They might.
They might.
Has very cute cats.
Hey, Pop.
Buffo. Buffy and Willow.
Oh, here's
And Willow has
Buffy.
one eye.
Here's Buff.
She's like, I don't want to do this.
So we had a question about like which one of your characters that you've made would you like absolutely love to see cosplayed? Like which one would you be super excited to see?
Oh man.
Thank you.
You know, Danny in Making Friends gets this really. Oh my goodness!
This is Willow. She's an angel.
She's so cute.
She also has no teeth, which is great.
It's true.
Oh, that means she can bite you.
Yes.
I guess in Making Friends, Danny gets this awesome princess outfit, and I would love to see someone really make that because it was a really. I based it off of a very pretty dress that I saw on the internet, so I guess that would be the coolest one in terms of like most ornate outfit. But honestly, I'll take whatever. I love seeing anyone cosplay, and also I've seen the cosplayers I have gotten have always been like, oh, I just picked this outfit from this random page of Hench Girl or whatever, or Making Friends, and I'm just wearing their street clothes, and I find that really interesting and fun too. Someone made a Pajama Cats t-shirt and dressed up like Fred from Hench Girl. He's like, like she put bandages all over herself and like fake blood and was like, hey. I was like, yes.
That's great.
Someone was asking, would you sell your original artwork?
I have no attachment.
Sorry, we
to
lost
my
you for a
original.
second.
Oh.
Okay, you're back.
Okay.
Yeah, it got a little laggy.
Oh, sure, yeah. I've sold art tons of times. I love selling art. I hate holding on to it. I will ruin it at some point. I keep it literally. See, here's my art, and here's the window, and rainwater sometimes falls on my art, and I'm like,
Oh,
damn it, I could have sold that.
So you have no real attachment to it, is what you're saying.
know. I hate holding on to my art. I love the feeling of getting rid of it because I'm like, whoever gets this, unless they just literally throw it in the garbage right now, they will take better care of it than I do. So it's going on to a better home.
So how can people get those?
You just email me. If you let me know what page you want, I probably do have it because I draw everything traditionally. I've sold a lot of Hench Girl pages over the years, but it was a very long comic, so yeah. I sold most of the covers, but I have a couple covers left. I have the issue 4 Modern Fantasy cover left. I think that's the only one I have left. But yeah, when I was like younger, like when I took art classes in college, just for fun, I didn't go to art school. Woo. I just would like hand out my paintings to all my friends and be like, do something with this, please.
Oh, the girl that was Fred is in the chat.
Oh, hi. Oh my God.
I gotta see that.
Oh my God, I know her name.
Thank you. That's awesome.
Jillian. Oh, Jillian. Shout out to Jillian.
Oh,
Memory.
yeah.
That's great.
That's so cool. I love that.
I don't know how to find the chat, by the way, and I don't want to click on anything.
Oh, sorry.
It's
It's on the YouTube video link, which we can send you to.
Oh, I found it. Well, anyways.
Okay, we have time for a couple more questions before we all, die.
Hopefully we don't all die.
Yeah.
Someone was asking about your commission, like how to get you to get in contact with your commission. Is it still the same email?
Yeah, totally. Just email me. I am really busy right now, though. If you could just wait until after November 15th. Whoever wants a commission, just wait a little longer.
Is that your new deadline?
That's I did some math and I was like, oh, feasibly I could finish my deadline by this date.
Nice.
So,
What's the email address?
oh, well, I don't want to say it over my...
Okay.
You can go to my website, KristenGudsnuk.com, and fill out the form there. It'll send it to my email and I'll just reply to you there.
Perfect.
And
Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule, though.
Yeah.
if anyone wants to,
oh my gosh, no, of course. This is my pleasure.
if anyone wants to know this is the level of cuteness you can accept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that actually came out better than sometimes they don't come out that good.
I don't believe it.
In the words of Naruto, believe it.
Believe it. Good. So we'll come to you for all of our anime fan art needs.
Actually, yeah, I love anime commissions a lot.
Good.
I just saw a cat.
That's funny.
All right.
So what was your top 5 you read this year? Like, what was the most interesting thing you ever read or seen or watched this year?
I saw a movie called First Reformed that was really, really good. It was like the first movie actually, I Heart Huckabees was also about environmental like despair, but it was something that was like, it tapped into that feeling of being like, we're destroying the planet. Oh no, what are we gonna do? And it was like about this like sad priest who's just like contemplating the world. It was very good. I definitely recommend that one. I recently read Fake Blood, which is like a middle grade comic. It was really cool. I
I just got that from the library. I'm gonna have to read that.
It was great, yeah, especially if you like Buffy and stuff. It's like kind of a lot of it's about fandom. It's about this kid who wants to be a vampire slayer, and she thinks this kid in her class is a vampire because he's pretending to be a vampire to make her think she's cool. It was really cute. Space Battle Lunchtime was really good.
Oh, I love that.
I actually just met Natalie at Comic-Con. She was really cool. I wrote down some of these so that I could, because I'm really bad at thinking of stuff off the top of my head. Super Mutant Magic Academy. I read that a while ago, but it was so good.
I loved that.
I recommend that so much.
So good. It was so funny.
It's so funny, and it does this weird thing where it feels like it's like not like chronological. What's the word? Like it's just strips,
right?
But it feels like you're actually just like seeing someone's random like high school memories. You know, it has like
clips from their life. Yeah,
like, it feels like thinking back. It's so weird, and yet it also has all these like great magic things. It's like basically the concept is it's like little like sketch comics about like a X-Men style school where kids with superpowers are like kind of dealing with their hormones. Oh, I love that.
This is really good.
I've been reading Anna Karenina. It's very long. Nice. So good though. Man, it like gives me ideas. I'm like, I can't believe that they were writing books this like modern feeling in like the 1800s. It's just like really dope. dope ghosts.
Dope all night.
Oh, we've got a request from Fariha in our chat. He wants us to ask you how you went from webcomic to published.
How I went from webcomic to published. What happened was I was making a webcomic. I was at New York Comic Con trying to get some art gigs. This was a couple of years ago. I was like, I'd finally been like, okay, my day job, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to be a comic book artist. So I brought like a portfolio thing to Comic Con. And there's a small publisher called Scout Comics. And I went up to their table and I was like, hey, here's some samples. Can you hire me to draw stuff for you? And they're like, what is this? Send us this. And so I was like, okay. And they published the single issues of Hench Girl. It came out like a year later. I ended up, because I was like, oh, if this is really getting published, I got to redraw the first 80 pages. So I redrew a bunch of it. Took me forever. That was kind of how I got that first gig. And then when I met Dark Horse, I still had the trade rights due to my magic business acumen. And yeah, I was just like, hey, I think you would have a wider reach. Would you like to put out the trade of Hench Girl? And they did. And I met Scholastic from Emerald City Comic Con. I just met one of their editors, and he was like, oh, this looks cool. I was like, Hench Girl's not appropriate for children. There's a lady getting beheaded. By the way, that was my own face for reference. So look,
nice.
in real life. So I was like, okay, I'll try to work on a pitch for you. And a couple of years later, I finally did it. So it's mostly just networking at conventions and like waiting for people to walk up to me and give me their business cards so I could email them.
Right.
Nice.
Nice.
Scholastic is putting out a lot of good stuff lately. Like,
Yeah.
I love The Witch Boy.
Oh my God. So good.
So good.
Okay,
Man.
so Fariha would also like to know. Sorry, I'm about mid-sneeze, so I'm trying not to make that happen. She'd also like to know, how should young creators negotiate their rights? Because you talked about how you have rights to your trade. So, like, how did you negotiate that? Because, I mean, that's pretty smart to start out. That was, I mean, I don't know how much you can even say, but, like...
I don't know how much I'm supposed to say. It was a snafu on someone else's part that allowed me to do that.
Yeah,
I'm like a Slytherin in the business world. No, I'm just kidding. Honestly, just everything in publishing is like a long-term thing. So a thing that you're deciding right now will affect you for the next couple years. So keep that in mind when you make any decision. Like, don't make decisions lightly. And if someone tells you something about, if someone warns you about a publisher, listen to them. Because honestly, a lot of how the kind of like information gets around is through just like casual word of mouth. Sometimes people don't actually say anything when a publisher is like not great to creators. So like, you just try to find the information where you can, do all the research, email people who are on that, who are being published by them, see what they think about working with them, and just like really make your decisions carefully, because you can only give your rights away to your thing so many times before you no longer have any rights to give away.
Right. Especially in the beginning where you're just so eager to...
Yeah, I mean, I know that for me, sometimes I've been in points where I'm like, oh, I mean, money is cool and all, but all I want is a book deal. But then when you are like, okay, I got this book deal, you need to make sure that you get the proper amount of payment for yourself, which can be hard when you're beginning and you just want to say yes to anything and not scare people off.
Right. Okay, so one last question. I'll let you go, I can rest. Another question from Fariha. I'm just like translating here from my phone. She would like to know who you would like to see play Mariposa if there was a live action Hedge Girl, which honestly I think Hedge Girl would be great as a TV show personally. Or like as a cartoon, I think it'd be like perfect. But that's
yeah, actually, someday we might have some interesting news about this subject.
Ooh.
Wink, wink, wink. Yeah. But I always said Abby Jacobson because she's so funny and she has bangs. Oh, she's hilarious too.
I'm gonna have to look her up actually.
She's from Broad City. She's the girl with the bangs.
Of course, absolutely. That's perfect. No, that's too perfect.
Yeah, weird. I was like watching because I remember I was watching Broad City and I was like, damn, she should play Hedge Girl. I'm sure she's busy, but she would be so good because Mary is supposed to be like a screw up slacker type, and she's very good at that. Like in Disenchantment, she was the voice actress for Bean, and I was like, man, that's that same character type. I guess that's who Abby really is. Extrapolating wildly from her performances about who she really is, but I think she would do a good job.
Yeah, visually.
Oh man, I love that. Now that I'm really thinking about it, even if like a cartoon happens, man, she'd be so good as a voice because she's just so flippant, you know.
Yeah,
and I feel like that's so Mary. I don't know. I'm just kind of here. This is my costume, I guess. So whatever, dudes.
Taxes are fine, maybe. But...
Oh, actually, well, Mary is like half Latina, so maybe someone who I don't know who is like, you know. Now that I think about it, this is why I don't do the casting. But yeah, it's kind of hard because also it's weird because she's like a character who's like a cartoon from my brain. So it's kind of hard to even like imagine it being
A real person.
Yeah.
I feel like you would be a great Mariposa.
Yeah, I'm not much of an actress though. So.
It doesn't matter. Like it's you. The more I talk to you, I feel like it's your character.
She's saying you're good at crime.
Yeah.
That's what really happened with those trade rights. She did some criminal activity to get this.
There's nothing wrong about being good at crimes.
There's one thing wrong about it, which is the crimes part. Don't do crimes. That's the whole moral of all of my stories.
Just don't do
crimes.
it. Yeah.
Do it.
Don't be evil.
Well, see, in Hench Girl, she realizes about halfway towards the end, she's like, oh my god, I screwed everything up for everyone around me. And she begins a journey of atonement.
I chose
Spoilers.
As a reader, I chose to ignore that part.
Okay.
I'm like, I'm gonna be evil because
because Kristen told me to.
Yeah, we're all for blaming bad decisions on other creators. It's fine.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I think we're all about to the point. Maybe because I'm about to sneeze a whole bunch. It has been so wonderful to have you. We absolutely love Hench Girl. Like, I have loved all this. And I hope that, like, as you make more...
Oh no, it's cutting out.
We'd like to have you on the books with us. Cool. Maybe during fanfiction. Yeah, fanfiction is waiting to have you. So you can talk about your crack shows with us.
Yes. I've got a lot of them. And they're all weird.
Good. I've got some weird ones too. And I'm ready to, get that burden off my chest and share that with the world.
As long as it's not Hermione and Hagrid, we're okay.
Oh no.
No.
It's only Hermione and Snape. Sorry guys. Don't worry about it.
What?
Don't worry about it, I said. That's for the fanfiction episode. All right, so, oh my gosh, I'm about to lose it.
Fariha saying things.
Okay,
We do have a giveaway for
Oh yeah, we're gonna give away a copy.
So, Kristen, if you want to ask a question, and then we can do a quick giveaway right here.
Or do we want to just do numbers this time?
A question? Like a trivia question?
Sure.
Oh, so just think of a trivia question right now?
I can see the entire
what is what's Gilderoy Lockhart's favorite color? See, a Harry Potter question. I know the answer too.
You too.
I remember it was from Harry Potter. It was from book 2. Do you want me to say it? Wait, someone say, what's his favorite color? Oh my gosh, I should just make sure I'm right.
I don't even see any responses yet. I don't. Maybe
We're
it's
just staring right at the chat.
Yeah.
Everyone's Googling it. I think it. Well, in that case, I'll just say I thought it was lavender, and I don't know what it is.
Someone's saying pink.
Well, honestly, that person's asked a ton of questions, so I think we should give it away to them because they sound great. But they might already have it because they cosplayed from it. I don't know.
I would think they already have it.
Philip said, "Well, the giveaway is nice, but it looks like I'm buying it."
Nice.
That's also that's why I love the people who watch our show because they're just like, "Oh, I already bought this thing that you're giving away because you already convinced me."
That's amazing.
That one just makes me happy.
Well, it's because I got the fancy hardcover version.
Oh.
Oh, Omar says lavender.
Yeah, Omar said lavender. He's the first one. Also, I know where he lives, so that's easy.
Oh, perfect. Oh, that's great. This
goes to Omar then.
Omar wins.
And it's a lavender book. It's purple.
Congrats. Because I'm sending books to Abby anyway, so.
Perfect.
Oh, yay.
All right, what's in the future for you, Kristen?
I think right now I'm just working on that deadline, and so book 2 of Making Friends coming out sometime next year. It's gonna be really cool, really crazy, really
Crazier than a severed head.
Yeah, you know, it gets really, really crazy. And honestly, the severed head thing, it just felt very natural in that moment. I was just like, she would make a severed head.
It makes sense. Yeah.
And it's like, yeah. I've got some pitches I'm doing. I got asked to pitch for a couple places. I'm gonna pitch those and try to do a good job on that and work on figure out my career. It's always like every once in a while you're like, oh, it's a moment to sit back and like reassess what I'm planning on doing. So I'm just gonna like try to come up with a really good comic idea, and also maybe do Hench Girl too.
Sweet.
Yay.
We can't wait.
We're excited to see where you go. So know that you've got 3 new big fans, so if wherever it calls together, we'll come stalk you. So.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here, regardless of the snot. Hope you feel
Thank you for handling my also having a coldness. You guys were all like,
love it.
Con crud. This is just what happens the week after Comic-Con. It's like people
Understandable.
are not better.
All right, so I will roll us out, I guess. I'm not usually the one who does that, so let's see how this goes. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Big thanks to Kristen for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Big thanks for my wonderful co-hosts, one of which does have a voice. As usual, it's wonderful to have you all. And also, please, if you're going to buy books, please check out In Stock Trades, our lovely sponsor. I already made way too many orders this week, so hopefully sometime soon we can roll those out. So, yeah. Thank you. Again,
Saucer Country.
Please pick up Saucer Country. It's still our pick. It's still 50% off. If you don't buy it,
that and Hinge Girl and something else, and you get free shipping.
Exactly. Buy it soon before you lose that.
Making friends. Get making friends for your children or self.
Or yourself. I loved it.
There you have it. All right. Thank you guys. Maria, if you could